still looking to pick up some points. Obviously, they cannot finish in P1 ahead of Netrix anymore. However, Royal Blue could still, in theory, not probable, but in theory, they can finish ahead of Burst eSports here. Though that would require a P1 and P3 from the Academy Constructors Champions. And, oh, what's going on there in the back with Cass and Adam? Let's have a look at this. Ooh. Yeah, Smith's gone off track for Netrix. And Rainey is going side by side with him now. The teammates in Academy. Rainey gets past. Not too much of a surprise there, obviously. With Harry going off the track. It was kind of to be expected here. But yeah, as we were saying earlier, unfortunately, the stream was not live. This is obviously an emergency setup. Hopefully, we will be joined on commentary later by Felix van Delft. And just for a quick run through, we had Jan Wozniacka taking pole position. And both championships are already decided in terms of constructors and drivers, with Netrix taking the Constructors Championship and Noah Roivers taking the Drivers' Championship. However, there is still battles going on. For example, for runner-up in the Drivers' Championship between Jan Wozniacka and Tom Oldenberger, who are running P1 and P2 as things stand, with both of them on even points going into this round. And we'd like to say a massive thank you to 3D Lab, Matsuta Esports, and SimLab for bringing on this race. And hopefully we'll see what this final round of the 2021 Pro season can bring us. As we watch Stoyan Bauerkov being chased by George Chatsipantelis. George, a fairly inconsistent driver this season, though he is obviously fast. It has been an issue that has semi-plagued him since I've been watching him. Same in Academy last season, where he is a race winner. He has the pace, he has the skill, it's just the consistency that seems to get to him sometimes. Now, watching Cameron Roger pull up in front of Castle Ritfield. Cameron hasn't had too many great performances this season. Last season, his best performance in Pro was a P4 in Zandvoort. Though he did join Burst Esports this season, he hasn't been doing as well as any of his teammates. But a P8 seems to be very solid for Cameron at the moment. Hopefully he can gain some more positions, though it will be a challenge for him to catch George and Stoyan in front of him. And maybe to even keep Cass and the mighty Harry Smith right behind him. Though this will obviously be mixed up. As we can see, the front runners are all of the top 10. Right behind them we have people like Alvaro Torres and Jukapeka Lalu, who are on the hard tires, and they are very good drivers, with Alvaro picking up some very good points for Bram GP, and Jukapeka managing to pick up some good results for Royal Blue as well. Royal Blue, who are trying to fight for, I believe it's P3. They are P3 at the moment, 41 points behind Burst Esports in the Constructors. It is doable for them to catch them, but it isn't likely. This would require a P1 and I believe a P3 from Royal Blue, with not a single point scored by Burst. But we can't rule anything out in this race. We had some mighty interesting races in Academy, with both of the championship contenders taking themselves out on the first lap, with Scovron. Oh, who's that there? Who's had that crash? Oh, that's Chatsipantelis. He, I believe, is now out of the race. That's what we were saying, the inconsistency and the bad luck that's plagued him this season. I'm not sure what happened there to him. We'd have to, oh, bit of a, oh, yeah. one of the burst eSports there hit him after he spun. I'm not sure if that was really avoidable. That's very unlucky from George. While it was kind of caused by an incident or a spin caused by himself, that was very unlucky. I don't think that could have been avoided, at least looking at the way it is now. And that was Cameron Roger who hit him going to the pit lane on 3 wheels. Wow, Cameron. Will that be repaired? I'm not sure. Here he goes into the pit box. I'm very surprised he managed to make it back in there. Sitting there, will he get a new tire on? Bit of a long pit stop, obviously. See how long he's gonna sit there. 17 seconds already. Doesn't seem to be any tire going on at the moment. And I'm not too sure of the repair times here. Regardless, even if he does get the tire back on, that will be a massive job for Cameron to manage to get into any positions of interest. If some people ahead of him DNF, he could get some scraps, but yeah, after running P8 earlier on, I'm not sure he's going to be too happy with even finishing P15, as he's already sat in the pit lane for a bit. Oh, and Adam Rainey! Big crash from him as well. Tires gone, engine gone. That's 2 Bram GPs gone this race so far. Oh, wow. What has happened there to Adam? Oh. And Roger is still sat in the pit lane, but let's see what happens. So, oh. Yeah, I'm not sure if that was just some oversteer from going on the throttle too much from Adam there. But yeah, that was terrible luck from him. And he's out after having a very good race in Academy earlier on today. So Jan Woznica still leads ahead of Oldenburger, which would put him in P2 in the championship. And this is obviously a great feat from Jan. Netrex have picked up every single win this season except for one, which was picked up by HME in Portugal. And as things stand, they've managed to pick up all but one win this season, all split between Jan Woznica and Noah Roivers. Woznica, who missed the last round in Pro. Yeah, that would be a great achievement for him to finish P2 after all the DNFs he had earlier this season and missing a round. But he is only 6/10 ahead of Tom Oldenburger, and Pistuto is only 6/10 behind him. Pistuto, the man who had very bad luck earlier on today in Academy. First, the crash with Damon Scovron on the first lap, his championship rival, then being held up by all these cars in front of him. It's very unfortunate for him, as we watch Jukka-Pekka Laulu chase Frank Hamming, who started last for Vale eSports after a grid penalty. In a train, all behind Alvaro Torres. Let's see. Is there going to be any moves on here? It doesn't look like it at the moment. Yeah, obviously nothing. Jukka-Pekka, a very good driver here. Obviously, he finished P4 last round, and he did manage to pick up a podium last season for Royal Blue, with his teammates David Koloksai picking up a podium last round as well, and the same for Shimon Fralik, who did have an inconsistent season before that. And actually, it seems like Cameron Roger is back out on track now, albeit a few laps behind, but he is back on. And he will be in the points with Rainey's DNF once he gets past that. Is it gonna be crucial? Not really. It doesn't seem like Royal Blue will catch Burst at this rate. Is it gonna be crucial for Cameron as well? He is 18 points behind the next person in the championship. I don't think it will be either, but for his battle for P14 in the championship with Stoyan Barbakov, it might prove to do something, but I highly doubt it with Stoyan's P6. As we watch Matt Tucson now. And as we go back to Tom Oldenmenger in the battle for first place between Wojcicka, Oldenmenger, and Peszczółto. And to be fair, Roivers isn't too far behind either. And we shouldn't count him out either just because of the gap. He could be saving, he could be just trying to keep out the dirty air. But I'm sure Roivers would love to pick up another win for him this season. It wouldn't do anything for him by now, with him being the champion, but bragging rights itself. You will be happy with that, I'm sure. Now, here we go with Barbakov. On Leonov, again, he is 6/10 behind. I don't think he is not going to get it done this time around without a mistake from Leonov. But we have to give credit where credit is due. The top 6 is not separated by a lot at all. They're only within 5 seconds of each other. And yeah, all it takes is a big battle at the front for Leonov and Barbakov to catch up again. But where the battle seems to be honest, is Peszczółto and Oldenmenger. Seems like Peszczółto is giving Oldenmenger a bigger battle than Oldenmenger is giving Wojcicka, who is kind of pulling away a bit. And it seems like Peszczółto is setting faster lap times in general at the moment. But it is a train at the moment, and without a mistake, at this level of sim racing, we're really probably not going to see that much of overtakes. They're all pretty much on, I'm assuming, similar strategies down here at the front. They're probably going to pair around the same times, and they're all around the same pace. As it seems like Peszczółto's dropped back a little bit, and Oldenmenger's managed to catch up to some closer slipstream of Wojcicka. Oh, what's happened there to Roivers? He's kind of stuck, and he's back out again. That has dropped him a few positions. I don't know what happened there to Roivers. Let's see. Nothing there, unfortunately. I believe. Oh, here we go. Here's Noah Roivers. Yeah, he just got some snap oversteer there, it seems. Similar to what happened to his Nettrax compatriot Adam Rainey earlier on, albeit in a bit of a different corner. I don't know what that amounts to. Is it just the nature of the track? Is it just there's not enough grip on track? I don't know, honestly. But Roivers will be looking to hopefully gain the time back. But he is 10 seconds behind Barbakov now. And yeah, it is a bit of a stretch, to be honest. He's lost a lot of time from that spin. But you can't count him out. There's still plenty of laps to go in this race. But there is still obviously that big train at the front, and it's just down to really driver skill at this moment, to be honest. They're not going to make any stupid mistakes. Let's have a look around. Oh, it seems like we've only just realized Cameron Roger is out of this race. What has happened to him? He seems to have had a drive-through. I don't know, is that just... Yeah, I think that's just... I don't know. I don't know what that is, honestly. That leaves 14 people in this race, then. And no huge battles seem to be going on. The gaps seem to have spread out, albeit, except for like the top 3. And other than that, it's just really gaps, and gaps. The top 3 are managing to stay close to each other. And we'll see, hopefully soon, who's going to pull the trigger first on the pit stops. Oh, Peszczółto's got a bit of a better run on Oldenmenger. Is he going to try and go for something here? He does back out of it, but he was only 0.15 seconds behind Oldenmenger at some point. Oldenmenger probably making a mistake down in that turn. And thanks to him backing out of that, is back to normal. Oldenburger has picked up his momentum again, but we never know. All it takes is another mistake like that and just a brave, desperate driver to get some overtakes going on here in this round. But other than that, yeah, it's close. There's a lot of people just within the 4 to 5 tenths range of each other. The same going on for Stoyan Barbakov and Leonov. And further back in the grid, it's the same as well, with Andrea Miharazoa and Torres not being too far of each other, and the same for Andreasen and Tucson, who seem to be the closest people on, and the same for Andreasen and Tucson, who seem to be the closest people on track at the moment in terms of gap. We'll see later on, is anything going to happen down at the back? Yeah, Pisciuto's dropped down a bit. I assume he's probably going to be out of the slipstream range, unfortunately. So this will probably be down to Oldenburger, who hasn't been able to get that coveted P2 or P1 this season. He has gone plenty of the P2s and plenty of the podiums as well. But yeah, he doesn't seem to be on it at the moment. It's going to be down to strategy here with both of the drivers on very similar pace. Oldenburger just slightly faster on the last lap. And Pisciuto closing the gap only slightly, but just.
Alright, internet connection should be solved, so we should be able to join you now, Anthony.
Thank you. You haven't missed too much, just unfortunately some retirements from the Bram GP boys and Cameron Roger, who had a FT incident with Chance Pantelis earlier on in the race.
Okay, that's great to hear. Great job so far anyway, so thanks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like you've mentioned, battle to watch now is really this top three. See how this turns out between Woznica, Oldenburger and Pisciuto. Oldenburger definitely staying close to Woznica's rear wing, but the question is, will he be able to do anything?
Not at the moment, I don't think, but the real question, in my opinion, is can Pisciuto redeem himself after that disappointing Academy round and maybe cause an upset here? His pace hasn't been too bad. He qualified in P3, which does show he has the pace. It was kind of interesting to see him qualify so far up. So we'll see, I guess.
Yeah. Of course, still quite a long way to go, 41 laps, including the current one. Strategy is always a big part of also the pro race, considering it's a bit longer than Academy, of course. A bit shorter than the World Championship, obviously, but still very much a case of different strategies possible. We've seen that throughout the season. As we say that, Tom Oldenburger comes into the pits for his first pit stop. Breaks in time for the pit lane entry. And let's see what tires he's going to go on to. Of course, the drivers have to use at least the softs and the hards once during the race, and Oldenburger seems to be staying on a set of new hards for the next stint. That would mean that he is going for at least another stop, which would make sense because I doubt he's going for 40 laps after he did only 18 on this first set of soft tires.
Yeah, and he's gone for a full tank as well, so I don't think he's gonna try and go for a, just come out ahead of Woznica only due to the short fueling. We'll see if Woznica is gonna go for something similar, or is he gonna short fuel Unfortunately, Oldenburger has come out in some kind of traffic, and it's not the traffic he wants to see. Obviously, teams aren't allowed to work together, but maybe Alvaro Torres will be a bit more harsh on seeing Tom Oldenburger right behind him than a Netrix. We'll see Tom on the fresh softs, but he does have a full tank. And obviously the faster pace, but you do have to have quite some delta to get in front there.
Yeah, should be relatively easy overtake with hard tires on Torres' car that are, of course, worn out a bit more compared to the fresh softs on Oldenburger's car around the outside. It's not going to be easy. Top speed of the Netrex seems to be quite good around the outside.
Oh.
Bit of wheel banging there.
Yeah, Torres made it hard for him. He did. He's gonna have another go here. Hopeful. No, he's too far back.
As we see Prosciutto coming out there right behind Matthew Tucson. Also going to be difficult for him to get past Tucson. Of course, this track has basically two opportunities where you can easily overtake the start-finish straight and the straight after turn 2. In the middle section, there's not really any place to go. You can send it up the inside here. I think Oldenburger is going to have a look, but that's not going to be easy. And he hits the anti-cut there. Bounces off. Now he's going to have to spin the car around. I think he was just a little bit too eager there to try and go up the inside there. He was so far back. Yes, you can send it up the inside, but you have to be very decisive and confident on your move then. And he was just a little bit too far back, I think, to make anything work. Noah Rover into the pits. Jan Bosnikas, Tom Stoyer-Barbekov as well. Everybody effectively except for Jukka-Pekka Lalo and Kels Rietveld in their into the pits for their first stops now. Prosciutto also still stuck behind Matthew Tucson. Very tough for them to come out in traffic and get stuck. Prosciutto for now also not really close enough to do anything. Ivan Leonov behind that. Getting past Tom Oldenburger now. Of course, Oldenburger with that mistake earlier on. Ivan Leonov, sorry, onto the hard compound tire compared to the soft compound of Oldenburger. So Oldenburger should have a bit more grip, but of course, having that spin just a lap ago is not going to help him. Prosciutto also still very close to the back of Tucson.
Yeah, Prosciutto was surely blessed and surely happy in some way to see Oldenburger make that misjudged move. Oldenburger was very lucky not to get any damage from going on such a high curb. It could have easily gone wrong and put him into the wall or into another car. He's lucky to still manage to only be 3 seconds behind Prosciutto, and it might not make that big of a difference later on if he does get his pace up. And if Prosciutto and Woznica are met by some harder luck, but Woznica has pulled a huge gap. He has probably short-fueled compared to Prosciutto and Oldenburger, but he's got clean air and the whole track to himself by now. Nothing behind him, nothing in front of him.
Yeah, should be a race that is starting to fall into his favor, of course, but still quite a way to go.
Yeah, for sure. They've all got pretty much clean air, no dirty air, and no cars to battle with at the moment, the top 3. And it's all going to be down to pure pace at the moment. But I don't really see the gaps closing that much. As you know, Pro is such a high level of competition. They're all going to be on such similar pace, on similar aged tires. And Woznica is going to pull some form of a gap with his with the amount of fuel he put in. I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference later on, to be honest. Him having to put more fuel in regards to these guys. He's been on fire this season.
Yeah, here comes Barbekov up the inside of Ivan Leonov. Straightforward move. Not much Ivan Leonov was able to do about that on the start-finish straight. Yeah, Barbekov flying past there. Now weaving a little bit to try and break the slipstream of Leonov. Behind him, of course, as he comes out of turn 2. But on the exit, you can see that advantage that the soft tire has grip-wise compared to the hard. And Leonov will have to try and keep with him as much as possible throughout the stint, of course. His strategy is slightly different. So in the end of the race, perhaps these two will come back together as well. At the front, Woznica is still leading the race comfortably, of course, after that pit stop phase with the mistake of Tom Ondermenger, helping him quite a lot. Ondermenger now almost 9 seconds behind him.
Yeah, but going back to Barbakov, this is one of his favorite tracks. As you know, he won last season here in Academy. And he is surely looking to redeem himself after what's been a really unlucky season for him. He hasn't finished better than P8, which a lot of people didn't really expect from a driver who was so consistently at the front last season in Academy.
Yeah, its season has been up and down. It's had some decent finishes, top 10 a few times, but also a lot of finishes further down the field. Quite a bit of incidents here and there as well. So yeah, good to see him up front here once again. Like you said, one of his circuits that seems to suit him quite a lot, and proving that once again here today, as at least so far, still has got some way to go, of course.
Yeah, not everyone has managed to translate as well into these cars or into Pro from Academy last season. We saw the same from, as I was saying earlier, George Chatsapantelis, who hasn't had the best of luck this season, who also managed to be at the front a fair bunch last season. And the same seems to be the case for... Yeah, hopefully we manage to, hopefully next season, with a season of Pro experience under them, they do better. No on-track battles going on at the moment. It seems to have just spread out for now, and it's on to pure pace and strategy. Hopefully, with all these varied pit stop times and whatnot, we'll be able to see a bit more around the next pit window. But we can't rule out any mistakes, as we saw from a bunch of the Netrek setup cars, with Roivers managing to spin earlier in turn 1 with some snap overs here. And Rainey crashing out of this race after seeming to have a similar issue in turn 3.
Yeah, Tucson not too far behind Andreasen at the moment. Might be able to do something with the slipstream down start finish. I don't think he has enough top speed to do anything though. Maybe if he can brake right up to the back of his car. A little bit of a lockup, not too bad. Now needs a good exit. Rasmussen has a bit of a better exit, which allows him to run away, of course, and break that slipstream. Enough for Tucson to not be able to do anything down that straight as well. Tucson has been struggling in the second half of this season, but perhaps today he'll be able to show some battling on track here with Andreasen. Of course, these two have been at the back of the grid relatively throughout the entire season.
Yeah, this hasn't been a great season for Tucson. Tucson, who was in the title fight last season in Academy, this is where all his hopes went to die after an unfortunate crash with, I believe, it was Gerard Betaya last season.
It's quite close this time around, but does he have the top speed and the slipstream? Here we go. Rasmus defending the inside. Big dive from Tucson, locks up slightly. Bit of a touch there from the burst and the Invictus cars, but Tucson has gotten past. I think definitely a good move. Maybe a bit aggressive on the inside, but he managed to get to the corner and make the move stick. Oof! Andreasen very, very late on the brakes. Maybe got caught out by Tucson there being a bit early on the brakes, but almost ran into the back of him and just managed to stay away from him and not hit him on the back of the rear wing, but lost a lot of time doing that, of course.
Yeah, that was a very good move from Tucson. It's one of he has been very proud of his braking this season in regards to the overtakes. I believe he was very happy with one of the moves he pulled in Nürburgring, and this wasn't an easy move to pull off either. It did require some very good braking, so good move from Tucson, and he'll be hopefully looking to move on to Alvaro Torres later in this race.
Yeah, on the replay there, you could just see indeed that Rasmussen just got, or Andreasen, sorry, just got caught out a little bit on the braking there, and slightly hit the back of Tucson's car even, but I don't think they have any damage. Everybody's still going strong. Tires will be a bit square for Andreasen, of course, after that slide. At the front, the gap between Wozniacka and Prosciutto has been closing slightly throughout the last few laps, both of them on the soft tires. But Wozniacka lapping slightly slower than Prosciutto by about 2, maybe 3 tenths a lap. And the gap is now down to 4.5 seconds. It was about 5.5 seconds a few laps ago. Also, compared to Oldermenger, he's lost about 2 seconds over the last 3 or 4 laps. So Wozniacka starting to drop in pace slightly, but not sure if that's just to strategy, tires going down, or raw pace just not really there at the moment for Wozniacka.
Yeah, surely this is one of the moments where being reserved surely does impact you and benefit you. Prosciutto already having these full race stints during a race from the academy under his belt, knowing how the car will react in these parts of the race, in these parts of the stint, which does give him a slight advantage to Jan. I'm sure Jan did do some race stints, but it's never going to be exactly the same as you're going to have in the real thing. Yeah, nothing seems to happen there in turn 1.
Lalu driving up the inside now, having a look up the inside of Harry Smith. Of course, these two been battling with each other throughout the season quite a bit. Side by side out of turn 4 and 5 now. This 6 is going to be tough to stay side by side with. And Harry Smith gets the inside line, gets the position. Ooh, a bit of a dive from Lalu. Maybe a bit of contact as well on the rear right tire of Harry Smith. It had a bit of a wiggle there coming into the braking zone, so I think he got touched there by Jukka-Pekka Lalu. I'll have a look if you can see on the replay what happened there. On board with Jukka-Pekka Lalu here, as you could see, coming side by side into 6. Very close, but of course the inside line for Harry Smith. And yes, a slight touch there on the rear right tire of Harry Smith causes him to have a bit of a wiggle to the outside, and Lalu gaining the position there.
Yeah, it's hard to judge. I didn't even see the contact. It was that small, if any at all. So that'll be surely something to judge post-race, but it's nothing that Lalu really should think about right now. At the moment, he should keep his head down and be ready in case something happens with the 3 in front of him, Roivers, Rietveld and Leonov, who are separated only by a second each. So maybe we'll see something happen. And hopefully, with them being on different strategies in regards to the other cars, they can make things interesting later on. Maybe they're being used as strategy pawns in some way, with obviously the burst and the Netrex of Wozniacka and Oldenburger in some way fighting for P2. I'm sure they won't mind trying to not exactly help the other team in that regard, with obviously the constructors' battles already accounted for. But there is still that battle for P2 between Woznica and Oldemenga.
Yeah, those two, of course, both of them would like to get that second position, but they're gonna have to get to the end of the race first and then see who is on top. At the moment, Woznica, the favorite. Oldemenga, of course, with a mistake earlier in the race, just after the pit stop cycle. That causes him to be about 7 seconds back. Now, he's been crawling back to Woznica, though. Gap was about 9 seconds after that mistake, just after the pit stop. Down to about 7, just under 7 sometimes. So, he's trying his best. Gus Rietveld with a massive moment coming out of the final corner there. That's going to allow Nora Rovers to challenge him coming into turn 1. Perhaps big slipstream here. Of course, compromised his exit there. Both of these drivers on the hard tires. Up the inside goes Nora Rovers. Braking late. Bit of a lock-up. Maybe a switchback from Rietveld. No space really there to do so. Slipstream is going to be for Rietveld coming down the second straight here, but he's too far back to do anything, I think. So Rovers up to P6 with a great move and, of course, a bit of a mistake from Rietveld there on the last lap.
Yeah, Rietveld definitely will not be happy about that. He is trying to overtake Lalu for P6 in the Drivers' Championship standings. And once he's lost that position, those extra points, it's going to be a very hard time to get it back, especially against a driver of the caliber of Noah Rovers, who did win the championship and will drive in WC next season. But as things stand, Lalu will stay ahead of Rietveld in the championship standings, and he still would have, even if Rietveld managed to hold Rovers behind him. It will require some extra effort from Rietveld if he wants to get back in there. Further down, there seems that Frank Hamming and Harry Smith are relatively close together.
Yeah, indeed. Battle for P9 effectively. Both of the drivers on the soft tire, similar strategy.
Yeah, Hamming P3 in the Academy standings. A last minute reserve for Valet eSports here at this race. Started from last place, but has kept his nose clean, his head down, and he is up into the top 10. Some points which I'm sure Valet eSports would be extremely happy with here in Pro, as this would be their best finish. It's not exactly going to do anything for them at this point of the season, with 38 points separating them and next placed Invictus in the standings, but it's still nicer to, have those extra points on the table, have those extra points scored, and just have that pro experience for a team. I'm sure the team will be looking to host some kind of bigger pro lineup next season as well.
I mean, closing in rapidly, coming into turn 4 there. Had a bit of a peak, but not able to do much. Pace for Harry Smith been dropping over the last few laps. Of course, had that incident with Lalu earlier on. Of course, later on in the stint now as well. About 14 laps, 15 laps into the stint now. So we'll be expecting the next round of pit stop in the next 3 to 4 laps, I would assume. Longest that we've seen anybody drive was 20 laps on the first stint, so you would be expecting at least one driver to be able to do 20 laps to the end of the race as well, fuel-wise. Of course, tires is a different story always, but I think Brazil isn't the biggest eater of tires. It's not compared to Malaysia that we had last week.
Oh, that's Thomas Andre Miharazoa out of the race. What happened there?
I am not sure. and try and see what happened there. Might have been a disconnection of sorts. Let's see in the replay what happened to him. Here, coming up to the final corner. Did he just make a mistake here, or? Yep,
Yeah,
straight up disconnection. So end of the race for him, unfortunately.
He wasn't running too bad either. There would have been some extra points for Royal Blue in case anything could have happened to mix up this race.
Aidan Menger. He was one of the first drivers to pit in the first cycle, so wouldn't be surprised if he's one of the first to pit this time around as well. 18 laps into his second soft stint. He did 17 in the first stint, so gonna have to wait and see how far he goes. Of course, like I just mentioned, last lap, 20 laps is the longest anyone has gone in the first stint, so if he pit now, he's got 21 to go to the finish line. So I'd assume he does another lap after this one and maybe comes in after that, but who knows? Have to wait and see. Everybody so far staying out up front. The gap to Woznica has been closing down further and further in the last few laps. 6.5 seconds between the two now. It was 9 at some point after the first pit stops. Of course, begs the question, what would have been if Aidan Menger didn't make that mistake in his outlap there, whilst battling with a backmarker with somebody that he pitted behind, of course, coming out of the pits.
Yeah, I'm sure the engineers of these drivers are definitely looking at the deltas, seeing if they can come out and clear an air at the moment. I'm sure the top three are definitely thinking of pitting in the next 2 laps. Woznica, I believe, did pit slightly later, but he did short fuel as well. So it might come out to be about the same thing. Woznica stays out. And it seems that Pisciuto and Aidan Menger are going for the pits.
Yep. Pisciuto and Aidan Menger both in. Woznica again staying out longer.
We'll see if these guys come out in traffic and if they're gonna alter anything. They've both gone onto the hard compound tires. And no variation in the fuel times, it seems, with Pisciuto still staying out ahead.
Indeed. Of course, both of them going to the end of the race with this fuel load now, I assume. Wouldn't expect anybody to do an extra stop now here. That wouldn't really make any sense. Harry Smith right in front, or sorry, right behind Cosmo Pisciuto there. Pisciuto able to jump the gun compared to Aidan Menger with Harry Smith there. Not getting stuck behind him. That's of course what they would have liked. Woznica is also into the pits now, as he will go onto a set of the hard tires as well for his final stint. Fuel goes into the tank. I guess effectively a full tank, as there has been contact somewhere, I think. I just heard something. Yellow flag in the last sector.
Yeah, that's Leonov crashing on the pit entry. He has got no front wing. He'll be lucky. That's where he's crashed, but that is some extra seconds. Maybe we can see a replay of how he did that.
Yeah, let's have a look in the replay indeed. Ivan Leonov coming into the pit lane. Everything okay so far? Did he just lose it on the braking? Fast entry, of course, here in Brazil. He did just lose it on the braking. He was fine, but then he spun it around and... he tried to do a half donut, but and managed to hit the wall on his way there. So that's a bit unfortunate. He was okay initially, but then just on the turning around hit the wall there, which is unfortunate for him. And having a long pit stop because of that, of course, dropping back to 11th position now. Ollemenger now behind Harry Smith. He's probably hoping Smith comes into the pits this lap, which he does, so he won't have too much troubles with somebody else in front of him once again after the pit stops. Now, his aim will be trying to close that gap to Pasciuto and maybe have a shot at also getting to Wolfsnica, but that's going to be tough, I think, still. Gap between those has come down further and further. It's about 7 seconds now, I think. So Rovers has also done his final pit stop. I think effectively everybody now, as Lalo also comes into the pit lane for his final stop. Everybody done his final stop, and we'll be going to the end of the race. Rovers, of course, the championship winner, just set his personal fastest lap. Frank Hamming was the fastest of everybody in the last lap. So he's definitely putting up the pressure. Gas Rietveld is a bit in front of him, though. Lalu is the one that will be of interest to him, of course. Hamming just coming down the start-finish right now, and Lalu already on pit exit, so quite a big gap between the two. About 5-6 seconds, I think. Still a lot of work for Hamming to try and close that gap down, but going to be a tough ask. Still 17 laps to go.
Yeah, Roivers down up there at the front will definitely be looking to make the most out of his soft tires while he's got that big pace advantage over Barbakov. Had to get that P4. I think a podium is at this point out of the reach for Roivers after that earlier mistake. But he is making up some big time on Barbakov with the slipstream and the tire advantage. I believe 3/10 last lap is what he got wrong. Around 6.5 tenths faster than Barbakov last lap. Let's see, he's got a good run here.
Yeah, just a little bit too far back for now, but if he can keep this gap coming out of the final corner, he's got a good chance of overtaking him into turn 1. Like we mentioned before, in this middle section of the track, there's not really a lot of places where you can get past. If you're really brave and decisive, you can make a move in either of those right-handers. But you're going to have to be very late on the brakes and be very confident as well to not make a very late contact into the corner or just miss your braking point entirely. As Rover's coming out of the final corner now, needs a good exit. Bit of a wiggle, but I think it's okay. If he has enough slipstream, might be able to do something into turn 1. Barbakov will be, of course, trying to defend. Big overspeed here. Netflix has a lot of top speed, has had most of the races throughout this season. They've been deciding to go on those lower wings compared to the other cars. Has worked out for Rovers, of course, throughout the season, as he is the champion. But wasn't able to make the move there. And also too far back out of turn 3 there. So gonna have to try once again throughout this middle section to stay close. And perhaps do something out of the final corner. At the front, the gap has also come down to under 6 seconds now. between Oldeminger and Woznica. Of course, Prosciutto is in between that as well, with about 2.5 seconds to Tom Oldeminger. So that gap between those two, I think, is something to look out for. Maybe Oldeminger might be able to do something in the final stages of this stint. He was very strong in his last few laps of the last stint, so might be able to do something at the end of the race here.
Yeah, Roivers will have another go here. This time he is closer. And he isn't diving for anything. He is taking his time, obviously. Maybe trying to force Barbakov into a mistake. Maybe he's just waiting for that better overspeed, but I don't think he sees a point at this stage where everything is decided already to make stupid risks and compromise them both. He'll have another go surely at the end of this lap into turn 1. As you said earlier, there isn't really much overtaking places in the middle of the track. We saw some moves being done in Academy, and we saw Tom Oldeminger lose it a bit when going for an overtake earlier in this race. But generally, as you said, it really doesn't get done.
Yeah, Rovers, I think, even is a bit too far back this time around. Out of the final corner, won't be able to do anything. He is seems to be struggling here in his final stint on the soft tires, even compared to those hards that Barbakov's got. Of course, we've established before that Barbakov does really like this track, has been strong here in the past, and is looking very strong here today as well. Doing a great job so far, keeping the champion behind him, who's on a softer set of tires even. But begs the question, perhaps Rovers seems to be struggling a little bit.
Yeah, maybe the softs have dropped off to a point where even if he is faster, it really isn't enough to get past a driver like Stoyan Barbakov. We can't discredit him. He does have the skill, and he does have the expertise at this track as well. But Roivers really doesn't seem to be gaining huge time anywhere. He seems to be in about the same spot as he was on the last lap.
He's a little bit closer, I think. But
he's gonna have to be braver for sure.
Yeah, he's gonna have to send it up the inside or the outside. Might be looking to do so. Nope, backs out of it. He had a bit of a peak, but decided it wasn't worth the risk here. Now coming into turn 4, also too far back to do anything. So also a bit of a slide on the exit there, so you can see he is struggling on the tires already. Still 12 laps to go.
Yeah, he seems to be keeping it closer to him this time around. He has surely been studying where he should position his car to lose as little time as possible. Bit of a lock up there. But he is close to Barbakov. If he can keep it around this close going into the next corner, surely he'll be able to make a move here.
Yep. A little bit closer than he was last lap even. So if he gets the run, he might be able to do something into turn 1 here. Closing in rapidly here. Is he going to go for the inside? Nope. Same as last time. Doesn't go for the move.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, out of turn 3 as well. Just a bit too far back. The front, by the way, the gap between Prosciutto and Woznica is 2.3 seconds now. Oldeminger below 5 seconds to Woznica. Woznica really struggling in the last 2 stints here. Because there's still a bit to go. But at this rate, I think Prosciutto might have a chance. Oldeminger maybe might have a chance as well. Of course, those two are battling for second place in the championship. Effectively, the driver that finishes in front of the other wins that second place because they're tied on points at the moment.
Yeah, there's 10 laps to go, and we've seen Peugeot and Oldenburger close that gap down. Peugeot will probably have a better shot at the win than Oldenburger, but all it takes is an extended battle between Woznica and Peugeot, who I'm sure are both hungry for this win. Especially Peugeot will be looking to redeem himself, and I mean, it will be the second reserve driver win of this weekend. We had the win by Mirko Mancini from AMA in Academy earlier on today. So just a good day for reserve drivers, I guess. As it seems, Lalu has caught up to Rd.12, and Rd.12 isn't too far behind Roivers now, so this could turn into a four-way.
This is indeed starting to turn into a four-way battle for that fourth position. With Barbecue, of course, leading that train. He's on the hard tires, everybody behind him. Effectively, except for Harry Smith, but he's, of course, not in this battle. On the soft tires, so they'll all be theoretically faster, maybe until the last few laps, when the hard tire will start to gain back a bit of ground, of course, having less wear compared to the softs. But this is definitely turning out to be an interesting battle for fourth position at the front. Another half a second between Oldenburger and Woznica lost. Woznica definitely starting to struggle in the later stages of this race. 9 laps to go, including the one that they're on right now. So effectively 8 laps to go as Woznica is just coming out of the final corner now. We'll keep our eyes on this battle for fourth position. Just for now.
Barbakov will surely have a task ahead of him. I've heard from a lot of the drivers and teams here that the hard tires are not a great compound to be on this weekend. And Barbakov has to keep these 3 cars in front of him. I'm sure you know, once you start losing positions in situations like this, you just lose the momentum. It's just so much easier to lose the next few positions after you lose it. After you lose the first one. But this Brazilian Grand Prix might turn out to be very interesting in the last few laps with this battle for P4. And though the gap has gone up slightly, there is a moment times where the gap between Peugeot and Woznica is down to less than 2 seconds. All it takes is one lockup from Woznica that'll lose him a second, and Peugeot is within his slipstream range. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how that plays out. A bit of a slide there from Rd.12.
Rd.12 and Lalu indeed, side by side now. Rd.12 with once again a mistake in the final corner there, allowing Lalu to get past. Rd.12 might be able to do something if he keeps close coming out of turn 2 here. I think it's going to be tough. Washing out slightly there. We'll be trying to take the slipstream of Lalu down this straight, but it's too little to do anything. Bit of a lockup as he closes in on the braking, but has a worse exit then because of that. Peugeot is now 2 seconds behind Woznica. Oldenburger 4.5, so about 2 seconds as well behind Peugeot. There is 7 laps to go. Once again, a big slide of Rietveld there coming into the right-hander on top of the hill. Not going to help his rear tires at all, and he seems to be struggling with them already throughout the course of this race.
Yeah, he seems to be making these what some would call stupid mistakes toward the end of the stint. It's surely something to do with his tire wear, especially if he's losing it in even the last corner or whatnot. And if he keeps this up, if he makes a bigger mistake, maybe Leonov can capitalize, but in 7.5 seconds, Rietveld probably knows he's not going to catch Lalu. He's just going to look to keep his nose clean and secure that P7 for Burst eSports in the final round.
Up the hill once again. They go. Just 5 more times after this. Gap almost down to under 2 seconds between Prosciutto and Oldermenger. He's not going to have a lot of time though left to try and make overtakes. But I'm sure he is trying his best to do so. Once again, Rovers relatively close to the back of Stoyan Barbakov, but I think too far once again for him to do anything.
Yeah, if he didn't get it done the last few times, I don't see why it should be done this time again. Gap at the front is consistent. Sometimes going up, sometimes going down. Woznica did get the gap up by half a second in the last 2 laps, but seems to be kind of dropping again. And if anything, Oldenmenger, it seems to be catching Prosciutto faster than Prosciutto's catching Woznica. But I don't think there's enough laps. I really don't see the top 3 changing at this point. What's really here to watch is the battle for P4 between Barbakov, Roivers and Lalu, as Lalu seems to have caught up to Roivers relatively close, only 3/10 behind him, and maybe Royal Blue could do some nice teamwork here to gain another position for Lalu here.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit risky though if Barbakov tries to back Rovers into Lalu effectively. Of course, risking his own position if he does that. So he's gonna have to be careful if they decide to do that. But Lalu has got some speed in his car, but is it gonna be enough to get past Rovers? That's the question, because Rovers, of course, has been stuck behind Barbakov for this entire stint now.
Yeah, Roivers, if he doesn't get this done, maybe he'll be looking in hindsight later, should he have been more aggressive into turn 1. We did see a few good opportunities where he could have sent up the inside if he was feeling a bit more brave. But yeah, by now I think the tire advantage might have worn off, mostly with Barbakov. Barbakov is pulling slower times by 3/10 to Roivers and Lalu, but he is still keeping them behind, and that's really all that counts.
Only a few more laps to go in this final race of the 2021 Formula SimRacing Pro Championship. Of course, already you've got the champion crowned, Noah Rovers. He's been doing great throughout the entire season. Struggling a little bit today, but perhaps also lack of preparation. Not sure. But P5, I'm sure he's going to be maybe slightly disappointed with that, but who cares, to be honest? He's the champion, so doesn't really matter. Lalu close to Rovers, Rovers close to Barbakov, but neither of them, I think, close enough to do anything. We're slightly defensive coming into turn 1 this time around to try and back off Lalu slightly. Of course, it's not going to be easy for Lalu, considering Rovers also has the slipstream from Barbakov in front of him. Ideally, of course, he'd like Barbakov to run away and break that slipstream to Rovers, but I think that's not going to be easy for him.
don't think Roivers is going to be crying himself to sleep tonight if he doesn't get it done. As you said, he is the champion. And there's really nothing in it for him if he overtakes or he doesn't overtake. I'm sure he's having a lot of fun just being in this battle, in this royal blue sandwich. So maybe he gets it done, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he could have done better if he didn't make that mistake that cost him around 15 seconds earlier on in this race. But who's to speculate? It's really not going to change anything for this man.
Yeah, at the front, the gap is under 2 seconds now, but there's only 1 lap to go. This is the final lap. So I don't think there's going to be much changing in the top 3 here. Just having a look still at this battle. I think it's going to be tight until the final one crosses the finish line. Everybody still has a chance. Vosnica is coming into the last couple of corners now. He's been strong this season. Worthy challenger, of course, next to Noah Rovers. Didn't manage to hang on to that championship in the last few races. Had a very good end of the season, though. Wins in France, wins in Belgium, wins in Japan. And now is going to win as well in Brazil. Great driving once again from Vosnica to take the win here of the final race in the season. Pasciuto finishes second. Tom Oldermenger third, effectively taking third in the championship as well. Borbakov is going to stay ahead of Rovers. Rovers might be overtaken by Lalu. It's going to be close to the line, I think. But it's not enough for Lalu. So Rovers takes 5th, Lalu 6th. And then it's a little bit of a wait for Cas Rietveld in 7th. Leonov coming across the line in 8th. Frank Hamming will be coming across in 9th. And then we've got Harry Smith and Alvaro Torres, who are a little bit further down the field. Also Mathusen and Andreasen, who are just coming through the final corner now to finish their final race of the 2021 season.
Yeah, what a race. Not too many overtakes, but it did. I'm sure some people will be happy with how it turned out. Woznica with his 4th win in a row. Obviously, he missed the last round, but if we don't count that, his 4th win in a row. Started practicing yesterday evening, and I'm sure he'll be very happy with that, as you said. But yeah, what a season, Felix.
It has definitely been an exciting season here in the Pro Championship as well. And of course, it's all thanks to the drivers making that happen for us. So a big thanks for all the drivers. And of course also a big thanks for our sponsors, 3D Rep, Asita eSports and SimLab. Those are of course all making it possible for us to run these series, and there will be a nice prize as well for the championship winner in the Pro Championship. Same thing for the Academy, the AMA, and of course the World Champion. That will be also getting some extra prizes next to the World Championship, but that's coming up in just about 30 minutes time. When the World Championship starts, we will have Lewis McGlade and Ewan O'Leary on the commentary there for you as per usual. But of course also a big thanks to Anthony for doing at least the first part of the commentary totally by himself, but as well in the end together with me. But a big thanks for the start there.
Yeah, thank you, Felix. And hopefully we'll be back here next season in a more organized manner. But what's to say, really? I mean, just looking back at the season, a great one.
It definitely has been. Some donuts from the Netrex guys. They are very happy with the championship. Of course, they've been very, very strong throughout these last few seasons, and taking the Drivers' Championship with Noah Rovers effectively. Also the Constructors' Championship, but it's not really a Constructors' Championship in this Pro Championship, but I'm sure they'll take it anyway. But yeah, great stuff from them as well, and we hope to see them back, of course, next year as well. Now let's have a look at the final race results. of course. Vosnica taking the win in front of Prosciutto and Tom Holdermenger, who will be taking as well that second place in the championship because of that. Barbakov in 4th, Rovers in 5th, Lalo in 6th, Rietveld in 7th, Ivan Leonov in 8th, Frank Hemming 9th, Harry Smith 10th position, and then we've got Torres, Houston and Andreasen finishing in the final position, and everybody behind that not able to finish the race here today, unfortunately. But of course, great to see them here in the race, in the final race of the season anyway. So that, I think, closes it off for us here. As you can see, the calendar is totally done. No red highlighted next race of the season. So, of course, stay tuned for any updates regarding Winter Series or any other series that will be coming in the next few months. I'm sure that we'll host some things in the near future. And a big thanks, of course, to everybody behind the scenes for this Pro Championship as well. Cameron Roger, of course, El Presidente, Thomas Lenz doing a lot of the server work and other stuff behind the scenes. Of course, Anthony Yu for doing a lot of the stewarding, and here today as well for the commentary. And I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot of other people, but everybody in the FSR administration, a big thank you. Of course, Aidan Millward for doing most of the commentary together with me in this Pro Championship. Unfortunately, not able to do it today, but he's been a very nice guy to work with here in this championship as well. But we'll see what happens in the next season. Of course, World Championship coming in about 25 minutes time. Until then, everybody, please take care.